with a lack of information about Islam on the channel right now. So I thought I'll just give you a little summary here just to remind you of my position. So, Islam. First of all, my position is that I do acknowledge the chronology of prophetic events by Fazlur Rahman Sheikh. I think it's right. I do not believe that there was any prophet of Arabia called Muhammad. I believe that this person is actually based on a historical character whose name was Hanzala. He was a Ma'med. That is not a Muhammad. Ma'med is a sort of a prime minister to somebody called Hani ibn Qabisa, who I believe is the historical person behind Ali, or Abu Turab, otherwise known as Abu Turab. And I don't really care about what the hadiths have got to say. I'm not really interested in them, but I'm not going to argue with people's beliefs about that as long as they know that if what they say, Muhammad did this, Muhammad did that, I'll say, oh, you mean Hanzala did this and Hanzala did that. And likewise, if they say Ali did this and Ali did that, I'll say, well, you mean Hani ibn Qabisa did this and Hani ibn Qabisa did that. I believe that Salman Ifars, the one we call Salman Ifars, was actually Solomon the Pharisee. I believe that he and the first Emir and Abu Turab were basically primarily responsible for the authorship of what we call the Islamic Quran today. I don't believe that it was ever actually called Quran itself. I think that the word Quran was reserved for a different book which no longer exists in the Islamic world. They don't use it anymore, although I do believe that book still exists and is still used by Arabic-speaking Christians today. I think that the book which we call the Islamic Quran was originally called the As-Sana al-Hadith, and I don't think you should pay attention to genealogies given in Islamic traditions. I think that the genealogies given to us, I don't think you should pay any attention to anything really. It's all written by the Abbasids. But I do believe that the genealogies given by the Abbasids do reflect their own personal genealogy. I just don't think you should pay any attention to what the Abbasids have got to say about anybody else. I think they probably were related to the Sufyanids. We don't have any records about anybody before the Abbasids at all whatsoever, except from sources that the Abbasids say this happened or that happened. So everything is down to the Abbasids. There is absolutely nothing available prior to the Abbasids. So everything we know about the standard Islamic narrative comes from the Abbasids. And I don't think we should pay much attention to who they say was a descendant of Quraysh, except the Abbasids. I do believe the Abbasids were descendants of Quraysh. I don't think we should pay attention to anybody else. If they say, oh, and they were Quraysh too, and they were Quraysh too, and they were Quraysh, and absolutely everybody was Quraysh. How remarkable that absolutely everybody is related to the Abbasids. What a remarkable coincidence. So I think this is, totally bogus, and only absolute cretins would believe this. People who have no training and no background knowledge on any kind of historical discipline. The idea of an isnad is totally laughable. Everything might as well have been invented by Abu Bakr and Tirmidhi and Abu Dawud. You have no guarantee that all of it wasn't just invented by those people much later. So an isnad is a total joke. But I think that there may be some truth in what we've got, as long as we use a proper historical method to look for independent corroboration from non-Abbasid sources concerning various things. But as I said, I do think that a lot of good research work has gone into Fazlur Rahman Sheikh's chronology of prophetic events, although I wouldn't call them prophetic events. I would call them Hanzala's events. What else can I say about Islam? I don't think that Abu Bakr was who they say he was either. I think Abu Bakr as-Sadiq was actually a Sadducee, and he was a soldier in Nehemiah ben Hushiel's army. I think he was probably the next successor, the next Sadducee leader of Nehemiah ben Hushiel's army. And so I think that the Zubayrids are actually descendants of Sadducees. As I said, the Quran, what we call the Quran, the Islamic Quran, which was written by the first Emir and Abu Turab and Solomon the Pharisee, was written for the Sabi'in, the Sabians, that means the Baptists, who were basically missionaries trying to convert other people into believers. And I think it's basically almost like an entertainment for the Sabians, educational and what you can call liturgical drama, educational liturgical drama. And I think it was it was an entertainment system which was popular among them at that time, and it was then turned into a sacred book much later. I don't see anything much wrong with it as an entertainment, a sort of a liturgical entertainment. I think you shouldn't take it too seriously as a holy book. But there is a lot of truth in it, and only, of course, if you're reading it in Judeo-Arabic, since it was written by people who are speaking Judeo-Arabic, and it is not Quraysh dialect, which is why everybody's had so much difficulty throughout history trying to make it fit into the Quraysh dialect. It's just simply not written in Quraysh dialect. It's written in a Judeo-Arabic dialect. It's got lots of Syriac words, lots of Aramaic words, lots of even Greek words, lots of Hebrew words on a basic Arabic foundation. And when you read it in that way with Judeo-Arabic, it's got significantly different meanings sometimes from what you might think, because certain conventions which have become the standard way of reading in the Quran by forcing a sort of a Quraysh view on it no longer exist once you start reading it in Judeo-Arabic. For example, if it says inna yakun lahu walad, it literally means inna yakun lahu walad. Indeed, there is to him a son. Whereas when you force a Quraysh sort of conventions onto it, it means no, he doesn't have a son, even though it looks like it literally is saying he does have a son, but by all convention it means he doesn't have a son. I think we can just throw out all that convention and say no, that's not what it means. It literally is saying he has a son. Of course, you're not familiar with Arabic, you won't have a clue what I'm talking about, but nevertheless, those of you who can at least read Arabic will understand that. And if you use something like corpusquran.com, you'll see that it actually is literally saying he has a son. But that's okay, because there are other passages which say he doesn't ittikhad, he doesn't adopt a son. So the Quran is totally against adoptionism, but it's not against the idea that he has a son. It's just completely opposed to adoptionism. It's totally opposed to tritheism. It's totally opposed to modalism, but it's not opposed to the idea that the Father is not the Son, and the Son is not the Father, and the Father is not the Spirit, and the Spirit is not the Father, but these three are one. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And this is your Trinity right there in the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which is basically the same as saying in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's just they're using different ways of referring to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So it's based on a kind of a messianism, a messianic view. What kind of messianism? Because there's a lot of Judaism in that book. And the answer is, well, obviously it's based on messianic Noahide Judaism, very, very clearly, which is, of course, the Sabian faith, which the Baptist faith, which we promote on this channel as with the Baptist successionism. And hence, as being an expert in Baptist successionism, I also am an expert in how the origins of Islam relate to the Baptist successionism. And when we say Baptist succession, we're talking about ancient Baptists, i.e. Sabi'in. We're not talking about modern English Baptists, but more like Anabaptists, independent Baptist sort of groups throughout history. Most importantly, the Severian Paulicians, or the Paulicians, as they're known. As Severianism was basically the Christology they were using. What kind of Severianism? I think it was Themistius. Heraclius, the story, wonderful story which we hear, that Heraclius converted to Islam, but then abandoned Islam when his nobles got upset about it. It is based in truth, but it wasn't Islam, of course, because Islam was invented later. Unless we understand the word al-Islam in a Judeo-Arabic sense to be referring to the Brit Shalom, the covenant of Noah, and then you can say, yes, that's what he was converted to, and he gave a name to it. He called it monoenergism. That's the term that was given by Heraclius to this, for this sort of Paulician faith. or I should say Policing Baptist faith. And in the end, the Sixth Ecumenical Council sort of outlawed monoenergism. Not outlawed. Interesting enough, they didn't outlaw or say anything against Paulicians, and they never did say anything against the Paulician Baptists. They only ever said something against Heraclius's way of describing it as monoenergist. The correct term, really, which Heraclius was trying to get at with this phrase monoenergism, is miaphysitism, and that is the Christology of the Quran. Miaphysitism, and that is the Christology of the Anabaptists even today. So I think I've summed the whole thing up. There you go. 12 minutes. I think I did it. If I've